Do, do, do. Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. It is Sunday, November 2nd. I almost said July 2nd. I don't know why I said that. But it is not July 2nd. It is November 2nd. Welcome to the show. Today we're going to be talking about a curious universe. I did not advertise that we were going to have the show today. I forgot to set up my event on Facebook, but suffice it to say, we're definitely going to do it anyway. So last week, I wanted to talk a little bit more about works of wonder, what it is to do miracles as a magician, because I think a lot of the things that draw people to the occult is living, a more miraculous kind of life. And fireballs. Like I don't know about everybody else, but for me, a lot of the things that drew me into it was having power over other aspects of my life that I didn't feel like I had power over. Like I always, I don't know, a lot of the coming of age movies that I saw growing up, like Never-Ending Story, one of the big scenes was when the kid got to ride his little luck dragon around and bully the bullies who were bullying him with his fantastical new understanding of this universe, of how this overlapping universe is different. I don't know if anybody ever went into save those poor kids who were stuck in that alternate universe, because obviously it was alternate, right? But anyway, it's a big deal, and the whole occult, not occult, but the fantasy realm where a lot of our inspiration for becoming magician comes from when you're growing up. It's inspired by finding power and finding control over invisible things through your intelligence that gives you an edge over people who have perhaps a more natural affinity towards things, or they were born with it. They were born to wealth and power and privilege. We aren't necessarily given all of that. We who are drawn to magic, Jake Stratton Kent made an argument for years that the Lemegeton's Goetia, when you look at it, it is very much a liberal arts college. It teaches everything that you need to know you would be able to learn from like a college or a university if you were a free citizen, which meant, a child of the nobility and not a commoner. Not a serf or a slave, but not necessarily, I wouldn't call them slaves, but basically if you were a citizen, if you were liberal, if you were free, a free person, you could take these classes and learn how to do geology and geometry. You could study physics. You could study astrology. You could study astronomy. You could become all these wonderful things if you were a free student. That's where the liberal arts comes from. As a liberal, you're free. But the spirits were a shortcut to these things for people who weren't allowed to study those things, right? Witchcraft and magic has always been a way of equalizing the playing field, right, between the haves and the have-nots. The occult powers, when you look at the stuff we get out of them in terms of very practical effects, it's for influence, it's for favor, it's for wealth, and the ability to create freely the lifestyle of your choosing, in which you receive all the benefits of society, right? Without necessarily having to provide for other people's enjoyment of the benefits of society. Hey, Allison, how's it going? And maybe Logic, good to see you too. So magic power, right? How do we get magic power? Right, or I mean, not that, but like, what's it like to have it? Like I want to talk about, we go through all these initiations and stuff, and we go through all these processes of transformation, right? But the point is to be able to use this power to influence the world around us and to create our world, with miracles, with engineered Otherwise, hard to explain why exactly everything seems to go our way. That's the overall goal of things. But so the chief obstacle for most of this stuff tends to be, how to put it, having bad ideas. The I don't know how I would really want to how I want to approach this the right way. Yeah. So let me check my notes here just to make sure I'm heading in the right way here. Okay. Yeah, I went off on a tangent first thing out of the gate. It's how it goes sometimes. But anyway, the point is that we're trying to get to a point where we can start using these magical powers, if you will, these miraculous abilities to really transform our lives by integrating the forces of the different spheres into our lives and using them to make changes on a regular basis. So the universe itself is a very curious thing, right? So every morning we've been doing this daily chant thing where we go through and we reaffirm our place in the universe by going over the fact that Zeus is the head, Zeus is the middle, Zeus is the all in all, and it's this affirmation of the unity of all things. And you could be saying unity is the head, unity is the spirits that make everything up, and unity is the material that we all participate in. The very concept of this is based on this Orphic mystery tradition that I talk about all the time, the Dervani manuscript. The reason I have this, let me pull this up here just a second. The reason I have my whole little thunderbolt guy over here is because that represents Zeus. It's the eye in the cloud that has that is the awareness that is observing all things through us in this material world, right? And the reason that we're able to do miraculous things as magicians is because we've tuned ourselves into this light, right? Last week I was talking about how we are light in extension, how we are the light made manifest in this dark world. I might have to jump up here for a second so I can conjure some water spirit. That'd be great. Anyway, let's see. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. So last week I was talking about how we're light and extension, and how this universe itself is manifesting itself through us all the time. This is like the big key operative lever in my whole system here, and the whole process I'm trying to bring out into the universe and explain and kind of walk people through, because my understanding of it has revealed a method of experiencing life that consistently brings me the kind of pleasure and happiness that I was looking for many years. And it's the kind of pleasure that is very, well, I mean, mostly anyway, it's pretty rewarding. It's not 100% the end of everything. You're never going to want anything ever again as long as you live. Oh my goodness, it has worked. I have conjured a water element. Thank you so much, sweetie. I was dying there. I had a little bit of THC oil earlier, and I forgot to fill up my water bottle. So anyway, my wonderful wife has agreed to bring me some water. Anyway, yes. So where was I? Light and extension. All right. So we're going through this process of initiation and magical transformation in our lives, so that we can purify the lenses that help us focus this eternal light into this universe around us, into our experience, right? The nature of the universe that I'm trying to explain to people is this experience of existence as an ongoing expression of God, right? Of consciousness, right? My consciousness, your consciousness, our shared consciousness is expressing itself through every cell and every atomic interaction, every exchange of an electron, every time it changes its distance from its neutrons in its center, everything that's happening within electromagnetic existence is a manifestation of a divine consciousness, divine being, holy, eternal, omnipresent. And I don't know about omnipotent, but all the powers of the universe are within the universe. It's tautologically a fact, right? This universe is a universe. And my argument and the revelation of the Devaney manuscript and the Orphic mystery tradition, and if you've taken mushrooms, you know that there's an experience, or DMT, or all these other things, there's an experience that points to the fact that below our perception of things is another layer of connection where we're all part of a unified consciousness, right? Our experiences are of it as if we were separate, in ignorance of the outcome of our actions. Right, I have a lot of conversations about this on the internet where I've talked about fate and what happens as we transform our darkness into light, and as we try to achieve our desires and try to materialize a lifestyle that is based on the goals of the wise versus the goals of the materialistic, right? And I've got a lot more about the materialistic out there than I do about the goals of the wise, right? And the older I get, I think the more I'm focusing on the goals of the wise, because the goals of the materialistic world turn out to be evil over and over again. I'm not saying that you can't pursue wealth and prosperity without causing harm. I'm just saying pursuit of wealth is harmful. It is. It's not. It's like it's pursuit of wealth for its own sake is what's the harm, is what causes harm, because it's empty and it's vapid, and every empty thing is decrepit. It's not going to fulfill you if it's empty. Wealth that is alive and generous and giving and creating growth and expansion, and that's Jupiterian wealth according to the planetary qualities. The qualities of Jupiter are expansion and living and growth, and if you look at someone's wealth and it's become a toxic wasteland where they've become isolated, cut off, and alone. There's a guy, I think his name is Miller, right? The really rich guy that has been pulling all the strings in Washington, but he's like somehow the public face of the stupid billionaires now, right? Anyway, he's out there. He's hiding on a military base now because he can't he can't leave without having the military around to defend him. Kristen Noem, she's on a military base now. They live on army bases. That's their life. They're winning. Yay, right? So that's what wealth for its own sake, greed, avarice, it's what corruption can bring. That's not life. That's not joy. They aren't having a good time. I mean, nope. No, they've got what? They've got bad dreams and heartburn, and that's. Sorry, I shouldn't be gloating too much, but I'm pretty happy about it. But when you find good wealth, I'm not saying that you can't find good wealth. Jupiterian wealth is healthy wealth. It's expansive and it brings joy. It brings happiness, and you can tell the difference. Yeah, anyway, I don't remember exactly what all that was about. But yeah, it's this thing that we're trying to do. I'm trying to keep my focus on this, but it's really hard to not get completely sidetracked, because I really do enjoy this topic very much. But we go through this process of initiation to clear our ability to transmit this light, right? But this light that we're transmitting, it's got to be shaped by our desires and our goals, right? And our understanding of our place with everything. The connectedness of that light, that power that we're transmitting to everything else, is kind of the key of what we're trying to bring across in this particular expression of the Hermetic teachings. Okay, the universe itself is the power that is forcing the universe to experience the universe through our desires, manifesting through our choices and our actions, positive and negative. We have this model of the whole Neoplatonic philosophy, the good, the model of the good, the holy source of everything, the noetic mind, where everything is good and pure and eternally vibrant. In Gnosticism, we have this idea that the noetic mind, or the demiurge, is evil and dark, who created this material world as a cast-off image or a reflection of something, or the idea that somehow matter is dark, but the eternal is divine and perfect. The Orphic tradition that I'm trying to revive here throws that idea away and gets rid of this idea that there's a separate perfect realm that's different. It's just this. This is all there is. And this is conscious, and this is aware, and this is empowering. And this has given us many different methods to materialize things, but we're all just having ideas that we're trying out. Now, this idea that the noetic mind is perfect and ideal, that's true. Okay? In your mind, when you have an idea, it's a good idea. It doesn't look like a bad idea. In your mind, it's good. It's not separate and ideal and perfect and holy and pure and whatever. It's just a good idea. It looks good to you. And when you go to do it, that's when you find out whether or not it's going to have the consequences that you want. You try it out, and that's when you try to see if it works. And if it works, great. And if it brings you what you want, great. But seldom doesn't always work out that way. We don't always know what our idea is going to happen like in real life when we try to implement it. This difference here, right, between what we expect and what we think about it versus what it actually impacts other people. Like we have bad ideas sometimes. Like, I want a chocolate bar. That's a good idea. I'd say it's going to taste good. I'm going to feel good. But guess what? Every chocolate bar you buy from Nestle involves slavery, child slavery in West Africa. All right, documented. We know this is going on. You can't buy from Nestle without supporting child slavery. You like child slavery? Good. That's what Nestle is about. Everything Nestle owns. Guys, that's it. We're part of that system, right? Until we stop doing that. Right? That good idea that we have to get chocolate is not necessarily a really good idea in practice. But we don't know that until we try it and find out about it and understand the whole system that's going on. Right? We don't always understand what our actions are going to cause. But when we find out, we can change that. We're testing things out all the time. Okay, there's this part of the Bible that I grew up reading about where it said that it delights the Spirit of God to hide a thing, and it delights the spirit of a king to discover a thing. And I thought that was great. I think that's a great metaphor for what a magician is about. We have this craving to understand the mysteries of the universe. What drives us to discover how to do an initiation, how to reclaim these powers of creation? What drives us to that? It's our creative spark, our drive to create and initiate our own experiences, our own empowered experiences, right? That's what drives us to do all this stuff. And it's not something that we don't want the power for the power's sake. We want it because we want something that we need the power for. Right? And that's like good wealth. Good wealth is not you want the wealth for itself. You want the wealth so that you can buy a thing that is going to bring you closer to something you want. You're moving forward. You're going through it. You're going towards a thing. And that thing that you're going towards is this good idea, right? And then when you find out that, oh, wait, that wasn't a good idea, you stop and you do something else, right? You stop the bad thing and you do something good instead. And you don't always make good decisions. Okay, and I've been thinking lately about where good and evil comes from. Of course, I'm always thinking about that. I've got this thing in my mind about good and evil, right and wrong. That there is such a thing, and there are ethics, and there are morals, and there are values, and there are things that we have to live with that we've done. Because I came from a dark place. Recovery is a big deal for me. But what is recovery? Recovery is when you've changed, you've recovered. What have you recovered? You've recovered a life, and you're able to live. I want to write this whole book about how things get better after you quit doing drinking or drugs or whatever it is that is destroying your life. I still do drugs. I'm not saying I don't do drugs. Obviously, I'm a little stoned today. But the thing that you're doing that is destroying your life, if it's causing you these negative things, when you stop those cycles of destruction, it really does change things and it makes things better. And I want to talk about that to people because a lot of people stuck in addiction, like I get people talk to me about it all the time, but they don't realize that things get a lot better, and like as you're going through this process of extricating yourself from the crappy life that you've built for yourself, there's a pain involved, and it's just like initiation. When you go through a good initiation, you're going to change your life, and it's going to change all the bad things into good things, and the bad things leaving, it can be dramatic and it can be uncomfortable for a little bit, but then it gets better, and I want to write about that part of things, about magic and how much better things get, because I don't think enough people realize, I don't think they realize that doing magic could cause harm, right? Because we have these good ideas about things until we try it, and then we find out that, oh, it's not really a great idea for everyone, but when things don't work out the way we expect them to right away, people want to give up, or they want to say it was a bad idea and quit, right away, or they think that they screwed up, or that magic doesn't work, or that magic is evil. If I see one more person say anything bad about demon magic because it's always going to end poorly for everybody, I said that, by the way, that was me. If I see anybody else say that anymore, I'm going to lose my shit about it, because it's not how it works. The reason people have things end poorly when they do demon magic is because they're doing poorly themselves. They're doing poorly things, and then they have poorly events happen, and they just happen to be doing it with demons because they're making bad decisions. Not because demons are bad decisions, but because they think demons are bad decisions. They're thinking bad thoughts, and they associate that with demons, so they go to demons, and then they bring their bad karma with them to the demon, and the demons manifest this bad karma shit, because bad karma people think demons are going to help them, right? Because people have lied about demons, right? Christians have misrepresented demons to society and culture to the point where the majority of people think demons are evil fallen angels who have to be controlled. The Iamblichus, right, had problems with magicians working with demons. Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa had problems with people working with demons. John Dee had problems with people working with demons. Frank Bennett had problems with Crowley working with demons. Everybody has problems with people working with demons. The grimoires of I posted about it today. The grimoires of the English the Solomonic English grimoires. They're about demons are dangerous and you control them with a tetragrammaton. Or you work with the Cyprianic stuff. Demons are dangerous and you have to use angels or saints to constrain the demons, right? And if you work with the German stuff, it's all with pact work, and you got to have a signature, and you have to, everybody has to agree to the terms, and everybody's going to work hard, and we all agree in Jesus' name, and that's like anyway. But then you got the French people, and they're like, hey, baby, we'll just get married, and we will have sex, and then you will be raised as I am raised, Anyway. But the thing is that most traditions believe that the demons are bad, and they have to be controlled because they represent desires for wealthy things or social status or sexual gratification, or unearned favor and respect, right? You want the rewards that the heroes get without having to do the quests that the heroes did, or you want the opportunity to do the quests and prove yourself. Even that, you still want something that you're not given by fate without asking for it. You're curious about what it might be like to have a different kind of life, right? What's dangerous about it is it can become, you might hurt other people in your pursuit of the desired result rather than the experience of joy along the way, right? If you're so into the things that the demons can give you, you're gonna cause harm to other people. You bring your greed with you, and you're gonna use demons to create a greed driven life, and that's why greedy people who go to greedy demons have greedy experiences, and avaricious desires that are never fulfilled. That's why all these broke ass Bune worshippers are out there who are just like, desperately, like I've done it. I'm talking about myself again, but the desperately conjuring Bune to solve your problems because you don't do the things that it would take, and you're not asking Bune to teach you how to use a spreadsheet to manage your budget, right? You're asking Bune to give you a pile of cash because that's what you want, and it's like, anyway. Point being, demons aren't evil, right? People bring their evil to the demons, and because demons have been represented as evil, they will attract people who have problems that they don't want to deal with in good ways. They would rather just deal with it in evil shortcuts, and that's just how it is. But once you get over that, once you realize that the demons are just spirits that'll work with you no matter what, and they will manifest whatever you bring them. The problem is the quality of person that brings them stuff. If they're a good person, you bring them good stuff to do, they do a good job doing good things in your life. And if you're a kind of person who's looking for a shady way to get ahead using mafia connections behind the scenes, which is a way a lot of people represent the Goetia, rather than neutral forces that just represent experiences who are working towards manifesting that, a boardroom full of co-creators that you tap into who have specialized skill sets. That's the way I see them. They aren't. They're morally neutral, they don't really give a crap about that. What they care about is what you're asking for, and they manifest ways for you to do it. They like you ask. That's what they do. They don't care about all the other stuff. But we project onto them what we expect, right? So most people who go to demons for solutions bring with them the kind of problems that they end up materializing in their lives, and it ends poorly for a lot of people because they're just poor ending people, and they bring their poor endings to the spirits, and the spirits manifest their poor endings for them, right? And I'm totally victim blaming here because I've been through it, right? I've seen myself do the things that caused myself pain and harm on purpose, thinking I was doing the right thing, and then finding out that I was wrong, and then changing the way I do things and seeing that it gets better, and that you can fix things, right? And that you can be transformed through your pursuit of the light, right? And that's why I'm teaching all this crap now, is because there's a more fulfilling way to experience the results of magical power in your life, right? And it's just, I think it's better, So I want to talk more about what what living as an initiate can be like for people in general. And that's probably what I'm going to talk about for the next couple weeks, I guess, at least, because I had a couple of ideas I wanted to pursue. But today I want to talk about the nature of the universe being curiosity itself. The idea that we have bad ideas, right, and we try them out, it points to this fact that this whole consciousness that we're all a part of is very curious about why we're here. What are we doing? What can we do? What will we do? What will we do next? You know, Clive Barker captured it really well in The Great and Secret Show. This idea that there are all these entities, these god beings that are going around experiencing life, and they're just like creating these disasters for their own entertainment. Right? He made it look really petty and small when he put it that way, and it's true. That would be very petty and small. But that's because it implies that they're separate from it, right? And that they're not the ones experiencing it, and that they couldn't stop it at any time, right? And that's the power of the magician that we experience when we stop responding to everything around us and start directing it towards our desires, right? We find out that we have the authority to direct all these middle layer spirits to accomplish our experiments, to see how it works out for us. And I'm not great at it. I'm not perfect at it all the time, okay? I'm better at it than I ever was, and I'm getting better at it with every passing day, okay? And I'm talking about last week I was really good at it, but by Friday I was really great at this one part of this one thing I'm working on with, I don't know how to put it, but it's just an easier way to make money, I guess, is one way to put it. It's not just about the money, though. It's about solving problems in ways that are beneficial and synergistic. Okay, and I based it, honestly, on a meme I saw. Okay, and the meme showed these people sitting this was years ago, I saw it. It showed these people like beaming energy at each other, and it said something about when you exchange energy with another person, the energy resonance is multiplied. And I had read about it when I was back doing conspiracy theory research about MK Ultra in the 1990s, you know. And they did all these experiments on this stuff, and I knew what they were talking about when they put this meme together. And I've done it with people like with the Gents for Jupiter. When you start resonating and directing the powers of the spiritual forces at one another, you get something bigger than the forces that you're drawing into the situation. It's bigger. It's much bigger than just 1 + 1. It's like a multiplier, right? That's exponentially growing, and it resonates within itself, and it becomes something where the sum is greater than the whole of its parts, or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. God, that's delicious. So, I forgot where I was going with all that. Let's see. Weed ain't no drug. Let me see. 1 brownie point for doing drugs. You just messed my whole chocolate game up. Oh, Daniel, there's plenty of other sources of chocolate that don't rely on slavery. We don't have to do it that way. There's plenty of other ways to get chocolate besides Nestle Company. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Okay, there's not a lot of comments today. That's cool. So anyway, yeah, so like, I forgot where I was going with all that stuff. The point was that we are, I don't even know anymore. Something about the whole curiosity, the whole curious nature of the universe, and the ability to create our own experiences as we go along with it. It's about what the point of existence is, and how existing itself is the point, you know, and the empowerment that we go through and the transformations that we go through are about making the whole thing work towards what you towards the set of experiences that you're going for, right? And how it's not for the benefit of anyone outside of yourself, right? But there's also no obligation to keep doing over and over again the same old things. It's very important that we keep in mind that we can quit all the things at any time, because it's not necessary. A lot of time gets wasted because we think we have to finish doing stuff that we already know isn't working. But having bad ideas is no crime. Keeping at them after we know that it's causing harm is for sure the problem, right? But fixing things is what we do. Alchemy is about changing things into a more pure state, refining things. Reclaiming things is about returning our power as magicians, understanding our connection to the divine that the divine Pymander talks about. It's not about connecting to something that's perfect and everything's going to be good all the time forever. It's about understanding that everything is what it is and we're part of it, and we can change it by not doing that anymore. And we're not alone. We have the entire power of the universe with us, and the rest of the universe can be with us or not. And it's like, how do we get the rest of the universe with us? With symbols and signs and seals and words and rituals and the understanding of how it works. At the secret times, at the secret places, we say the secret words to the secret gods using their secret seals and their secret names, and we have amazing results. We have a different kind of life because we're working in harmony with all this stuff, right? There's a very practical side to all this stuff. It's not all philosophical mumbo jumbo. It's got seals, and it's got planets, and it's got hours, and it's got all this stuff. And I want to talk about all that stuff too, but that's going to be different shows. Today it's just about the curious universe that we live in, and its expression in our daily lives is the source of power that we are tapping into. It's the source of our miraculous experiences, and it looks less and less like a coincidence and more like it's just how it goes. I still have anxiety about almost everything I experience. I don't know how to get past all of that once and for all. But most of my magical techniques, outside of, I'm not talking about like conjuring spirits, but like, I guess meditative, contemplative things, like practices, my regular occult practices that I do are about managing my anxiety about things so that I don't get distracted from my connection to everything. And the more I focus on my connection, the less I get distracted from it. And that's basically the only magical practice that I have. And if you listen to the daily chants like that I do every morning with the Zeus stuff, it's you can tell when I'm focusing on the source and when I'm focusing on the words. And there's a difference, and I haven't figured out how to always be focusing on the source, because that's not what I'm here for either. I'm not a navel gazer. I'm here to experience and create also, right? I'm here to project and direct and enjoy, and participate. I'm a co-creator. I'm not a watcher. I'm not a reactor. If I was fine just watching, I'd be like everyone else, but I'm not. Neither are you, because you're interested in this stuff. You want to be a part of it. You want to be a part of the game, part of the playing of it, or at least feel a little bit more fulfilled in your role that you're already in, because we have created everything that we're experiencing to a degree. We've participated in the creation of it. And what else can we do with it, I don't know about you guys, but my personal social media feed has been flooded with all these wonderful inspirational ideas and stories from World War II and World War I against of all these operations that people performed against authoritarian regimes. I can't imagine why they think I need to see all this stuff, but like everywhere I look, there are reminders that this whole world is a story on a set. not the whole world, the whole imaginary world, the whole perceived idea that there's like a culture and a Hollywood and entertainment and power and war and lines and nationalities and all that stuff, right? All that world. It's all an idea. It's all ideas in people's heads, and it's about tribes, and it's about society, and it matters. It changes the events in people's lives, you know. But that play goes on against the backdrop of a world in decline as a result of the activities of that play, you know. Within that, we have our sparks of consciousness, right? Participating in these ideas that are manifesting around us that seemed like good ideas to some people at some time that aren't working out, right? I mean, right? It's pretty obvious. But, you know, part of this power that we get as being magicians is the ability to not participate anymore and to stop doing it. Not just us, but like the whole thing. Taking a deep breath, changing it, changing our minds, right? And you don't have to worry about convincing anyone. Okay, we're not spreading the gospel of we don't have to do this anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Change your vote. You know, we don't have to do that. We do magic to change the world. We ask the spirits to bring the light and the power, to bring the vibration to everything else. And I'm not saying don't vote. I'm saying go out and vote through your actions. Let your life reflect that which you believe in. You know, it does. It really does. It shows exactly who you are. Your life shows who you are. You know, if you're living a lifestyle that looks a lot like you're putting up with fascism, then you're putting up with fascism. You know, if it looks like a duck, you're a duck. You know, I'm sorry, quack, quack. It's just how it is. But if you're not, you're not. You know, if you believe secretly that you see something's wrong and you want to do something about it, but you don't want to get in trouble, you know, you're part of the hidden resistance. And, you know, as soon as you start doing things that are wrong, you'll be doing the things that are in accordance with your understanding of what's right. You know, whatever. Everybody's part of this play that's going on against the backdrop of life, and we get to pick our roles and all this stuff. You know, there's evidence across history of people taking stands and setting the scene for everything. All right. Now, as magicians, like I was saying, though, we direct the archetypes. Okay, we work with the archangels of the spheres. We're with the archetypes, with the archons of the world. All right, we are part of the governors of the planets. We're part of that consciousness of human existence. Every human being is not a hermeticist. If you've read through the Secret and the Kabbalion, you know, the secrets of how it all works are pretty well spelled out in those texts, whether you want to pretend like they are or not. You know, they're completely stupid, vapid, and meaningless to 99% of the people. But if you understand what the magical principles are that they're actually referring to, you understand that, well, yeah, if you add a deeper understanding of what God is and what humans are and how it all is connected and what actual vibrations are and how you make those vibrations and what symbol is and what consciousness is and how it actually materializes and what correspondences are. And if you also add on to that my own theories about the interconnectedness of neural networks and idea and spark and life itself, you know, and at the core level of the brain, and through the interface of our experience of the moments as human beings, you know, that compression of understanding of things, it just changes things, you know. Anyway, yeah, it's a curious universe, right? And we are manifestations of that. We're curious about who we are, where we are, and how we fit into things as magicians, right? As one part of that. you know? And once we start to figure that out, we start to take on our role as magicians, and we can change the world at a different level than other people. Okay, I really want to stress that our method of changing our lives is not it's not separate from taking physical acts, right? But in addition to protesting, if you want to protest, like I'm definitely on the I'm not in support of authoritarianism. All right. I'm also not on the side of corporatism. I'm not on the side of Marxism. And I'm not on the side of communism. Okay. I'm sort of on the side of socialism, sort of. But honestly, I'm on the side of anarchy. I want pure, good, benevolent anarchy where we respect one another. But I don't think that human beings can do that. I don't think we can do that. But I think regardless of what kind of social system a magician lives in, we're magicians. You know, if there's a king and we have to live with a king, we have plenty of sorcerers who've lived with kings before in our ancestry line. You know, if we have a president, we have Ronald Reagan had plenty of astrologers supporting him, okay? If we have a prime minister, if we have whatever, a duly elected local council, you know, there's always a grand vizier. There's always somewhere for a magician to find a role in society, okay? Because we're not here necessarily to be powerful people. I mean, and those who take powerful roles as magicians end up pretty much falling on their faces because they get distracted from what the magician's role is. We're the directors of the archons, right? We're the conscious part of the all thing that understands our interconnectedness to it, that has developed our consciousness and our awareness enough to be able to direct the forces of creation more according to our desired outcomes, right? And that's going to manifest through our day-to-day lives in miraculous ways, you know, just one way after another. And it'll be in ways that can be either directly or indirectly traced back to whatever the source might be, you know. And it's about, I guess it's not about me winning anything in particular or you or anything else, you know. As a magician, if you're seeing happen in the world what you want to see happen, right, and it's in accordance with your magic that you've done, then you can count yourself as success, you know. And that, when that becomes your focus, when you become curious about what kind of life you can make, right, and what level of impact and influence you can change the world with, I think that's when we start tapping into our true power, our true understanding of what the whole potential, the whole potential of what it is that we could do, you know, if we really understood what it is that we really are, you know. I think that's where we can start really tapping into a greater level of applicability of what these mysteries are all about, you know. Luminous beings, right? We're the light in extension. We're the ones that shine the light out, right? And the light shapes what it touches and reveals what the truth is, you know. And we also get to direct the light towards the truth that we want to be revealed. You know, these are the things that we can do with our magic. We can change not just ourselves, not just our own trauma, but we can change the world, you know, not just on small, and not, you know, not overnight, certainly, apparently, but potentially, you know. That's the long-term goal for sure. If we wake up, you know, and everybody's enlightened, then my magic worked. But in the meantime, you know, I'm seeing changes for the good where I work, in my circle of influence. I'm seeing changes for the good in my personal life, The people that I care about have broken free from their bonds. They have found a new understanding of their power and authority over themselves and their lives, and they are taking on that role as the creator of their experiences very seriously, and they are maturing in their ability to manipulate their resources to materialize their desires based on their understanding of the processes, and that makes me so happy, and I feel like that's really what I want to do with the next few steps, and also to keep going higher myself. I know. Can you get any higher, Rufus? Yes, I can get much higher. No, I want to keep getting. I want to keep getting to the next level. You know what I'm saying? Not like some kind of spiritual attainment level of high heights and greater illuminated mysticism, but like being able to see the things happen that I want to see happen. It's real easy to be enlightened or aware or to understand the forces that are at work in the world. It's not that hard. You can read, once you study enough astrology and enough I Ching and enough tarot and enough Golden Dawn, even if you really understand 777 and can apply it to the world around you, once you understand it well enough and your brain has made enough connections between enough columns, you know what's going on. Anybody can take a look around and have wise insights into what's going on. It's not that hard anymore. Okay, there's enough YouTube videos on it to fill us in. There's enough ChatGPT summaries of the obvious Illuminati fiascos that are coexisting at once on our planet right now, that are manipulating through the corporations that own one another, or whatever, however you want to look at it, whatever lens you want to look at it. There's plenty of ways to summarize what's wrong with things. Okay, so it's not meaningful anymore for you to sit there and tell me what's wrong with the world and having a snappy hot take. Doesn't separate you from anybody else. What are you doing about it? The people I love to see post are the ones that are like, hey man, no matter what's going on today, you're kicking ass, keep doing it. The encouragers, the ones that are helping one another, that are blessing one another with their works, with their creativity, who are out there making something beautiful in their life and being like, hey man, look at this that I made. That's awesome. I love it. I love it when people do that, and even if it's just, you don't even know how beautiful with whatever you have. If you work with whatever you have, it's going to be awesome. That was what I learned from the spirits when I was making, I made this kind of putty that you bake in the oven. It's like silly putty or something. Anyway, I made these seals for Bune, and I hand painted them gold, and they looked tacky as hell. They were so gross. It looked like something that like a third grader made in arts and crafts. And I was just like, this is embarrassing. And the spirits loved them. I had a wealthy bounty as a result of my offering to the spirits of my time, my attention, and my awareness, and my desire to please, even though it turned out a big gummy lump. They appreciated the effort. That was really important to me to understand that. Anyway, yeah. It is a curious universe, and we are trying to experiment on things, right? I'm curious to see how far we can go with it, and how much we can accomplish, right? And how much we can use this magical transformation, this alchemical great work, to actually heal the world, to heal ourselves, and to heal those around us. To bring healing to our fellow compatriots, our fellow companions, as we're going along through this. And why not? Why not? and then see what happens. You keep working with the archons and raise the tincture of the sphere a little bit. See where we end up. Oh, back to demons real quick. Demons are not bad, by the way. It's the people. It's the people that go to demons that are bad, is what I was trying to say earlier. I don't know if I made that point clear enough. Let's see. Do you subscribe to the philosophy that not all thoughts are our own? That our thoughts are or can be influenced by outside factors? Oh yeah, absolutely. Like if you see a Snickers commercial and you feel like anxious, right? Because you see the guy on the screen looking anxious and being a monster, you're like, oh, I identify with that. Ha ha. I'm also a monster when I don't eat Snickers. Yeah, you're obviously having that identification thrust on you by an image from outside of yourself. You're a spirit. Okay, let's take this to the very metaphysical level, right? Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all in all. We are the middle. We happen to have bodies, right? But we're spirits. Spirits respond to their name and their seal, right? And if you show a spirit a seal, it has to obey you. Okay? How do you know what the seal means to the spirit? You put the meaning onto it, and you tell the spirit what it means, and the spirit responds as if what you said it meant is what it means. That's what hypnotism is. That's what advertising is. That's what mind control is. That's what the CIA is. That's what the government is. That's why you follow the rules. That's why all cops are bad, right? That's what we're talking about here. The idea of bondage that we buy into. That's crap. We are a floating eyeball in a cloud with 3 little lightning bolts coming out of it. That's us. We're not this momentary thing. The memento mori, the point of death, is to remind us that this is an illusion, right? And that we're actually something greater than all that. And as magicians, we get to be more powerful, right? But anyway, yeah, so yes, we can be influenced by outside factors, right? As long as we aren't influencing ourselves. Okay, we have to influence ourselves to keep from influencing or being influenced by others. All right, I gotta jump. It's time for me to go to my day job. Everybody, you have a great afternoon, and remember that you are very much a part of the all thing, and that everything is manifesting itself through us and into us, right? And we're experiencing ourselves, okay? Like the drop, every drop contains the ocean, just like Rumi says, okay? Anyway, take care. I will talk to you guys next